Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for our topic today, older adult abuse and neglect. I'm Nicole Cairns. I'm a Community Policing Services Coordinator with the Coquitlam RCMP, and myself and the Community Policing team at our detachment is really happy to bring you this webinar today. Today is World Elder Abuse Awareness Day. But this is just a great opportunity for us to continue what needs to be an ongoing discussion on this topic. Right now, more than ever, this issue is so prevalent with COVID having a lot of us more isolated than we were ever used to. The same is happening for seniors who are not as connected with their communities as they once were, which makes the senior abuse, neglect, self-neglect, something that can go unnoticed more than it typically would be. So the hope of this webinar is to ensure that those that are experiencing older adult abuse and neglect, you suspect either yourself or somebody you know might be a victim, that you're able to recognize that behavior and know that there are resources and services available. So to help me shed some light on this topic, I'm really happy to have some of my favorite community partners joining us. So we have Ken Kuhn, who is the regional mentor with Fraser Valley West Community Response Network, or CRN, as well as being the Tri-Cities Seniors Action Society Coordinator. Leanne Lange, who is the manager of the Adult Protection Program with Fraser Health. Justin Lee, who is the Outreach and Education Coordinator for Seniors First BC, and Constables Justin Lalou and Glenn Chernagle with the Coquitlam RCMP Community Response Team. Thank you guys so much for joining us. We're going to have a discussion of some of the questions our attendees supplied us when they signed up a little bit later, but we're going to get started first with you, Ken, walking us through the Community Response Network's It's Not Right program. So if I can turn it over to you, that would be great.
Okay, so hopefully everyone can see my screen now, and we'll start from the beginning. So I'm, as Nicole said, I'm the regional mentor from Fraser Valley West for the BC Association of Community Response Networks. And what we're going to go through here today is a very short program called It's Not Right, Neighbors, Friends, and Families. And the same presentation can be given to one of your groups, and it can be changed up and a little bit longer and more detail and that sort of thing. So you can contact us if you'd like that. So this is the organization, and we do all sorts of community resource networking throughout BC. So in the Tri-Cities here, we have the Tri-Cities CRN. And we're out there trying to bring awareness about elder abuse. So if you're watching this in some other area of BC, look for a CRN in your neighborhood. So what we are trying to do is interrupt abuse and neglect. If we can interrupt it before it gets any worse or escalated, that's our goal. And we can all be part of it. We are all part of the solution, whether it's your family, your friends, your neighbors, etc. So keep that in mind, and hopefully we can share a few skills that make it a little bit easier for you to do that. So everyone, absolutely everyone, has the right to be safe and free from abuse and neglect. And that's what builds a strong community. When we all feel safe and we all have those rights that we feel we can choose, and those rights are not made for us. So we're going to start a little bit by recognizing a little bit about ageism, because ageism is part of the problem that brings on elder abuse. We'll look at some of the warning signs of abuse. We'll look at how we can respond supportively to our friends and neighbors, to support them if you feel that they're suffering from elder abuse. And and where to find help in our community. So what is ageism? Ageism, it's certainly a factor in abuse. It is discrimination against older adults because they are older. We've all maybe heard of someone say, well, why are you doing that at your age? Very discriminatory. What about people who forget their keys? Say, well, oh, that's a senior's moment. No, we all remember forgetting where our keys were when we were much younger. Are you too old to be playing basketball or tennis or hiking or kayaking? We all have those opportunities, and we certainly don't accept racism and sexism anymore, and neither should we be accepting ageism. And so we all need to speak out against that. Ageism happens when you make up your own mind about what a group or people are like because of their age. So you're driving along the highway and someone is driving slow in front of you. So you maybe say, wow, that's probably an old person driving, possibly. But then you come up beside them and realize, oh, that was a younger person driving, and maybe they had something fragile in their car that they didn't want to spill, or it was a birthday cake. So we shouldn't have preconceived attitudes about age. So what is abuse of older adults? Harm is caused by someone who limits or controls their rights and freedoms. We cannot let people control our rights. We must be able to freely make choices of our own, and that includes choices in a long-term care setting. Older persons also have rights that do not have an expiration date just because of their age. Abuse is not just impolite or rude behavior. It's not just that angry tone, that people disagree or whatever. It is when someone is putting their power or influence to control another adult. That's what abuse is. Not just a disagreement. It is misuse of power and control. Neglect of older adults who cannot manage on their own is also abuse. So if a family member is in charge of doling out pills or getting the food for the person, neglect is also a form of abuse. So again, it's this misuse of power, someone feeling small, alone, and powerless because of that other person. So we have to be very careful about that power and control. So what do you think are the warning signs to watch for? Yeah, we're all out there. We always see our neighbors' behaviors and family behaviors. And so we need to watch out for some of those things. So here might be some warning signs. If I tell you I am being abused, believe me. Don't just ignore me. If I feel that my rights are being taken advantage of, listen to me. I become depressed and withdrawn or fearful. Okay, so change of behavior of that person. We all have quirks, etc., and we all know what our neighbors maybe they go out of the driveway at a certain time. We know their behaviors, and we need to look at the changes within our family, within our neighbors, our friends. Maybe they stop attending church or stopped attending bridge class, or they always used to go to the to the gym and they no longer do. So there's a change of behavior. Or someone suddenly moves in. Maybe one of the family members has moved in. Or someone you didn't realize, and then there's been a change of a pattern there. Signs of neglect, such as no food in the house. Maybe the TV, the newspapers are climbing up, or they're no longer being taken in. Just things are changing around the house that we need to be aware of. And again, all of a sudden bruises are appearing on their arms that we didn't see before. So those are some things that we can be aware of, and maybe some gentle discussions after that. So people who are abused, they need our support. But people who are abusive, they need help. So we're there to help both. And we'll see later on that there are some agencies that we can contact to give us some support. And we do have other members on this panel who are professional, and they're the people who will be looking out for support also. So it's neighbors, friends, and family. We can all make a difference. We can all be that supportive person for someone. So I want to show you a little video as just one example.
Are you sure you're going to be comfortable in the basement?
Yeah, there's plenty of room, Mom. Besides, your granddaughter will never be home. You're a lifesaver, Mom. I don't know what I would have done without you.
I'm sure you're going to find another job in no time.
You mind if I watch a movie? By the way, your bank card was rejected at the gas station today. It was really embarrassing.
What are you talking about?
I went to fill my car and it wouldn't go through. It must be overdrawn or something. You better hope your check comes in this week and you're not going to get your prescriptions refilled. What are you doing?
I can't get used to the damp downstairs.
Oh, try another blanket, Mom. We're boiling up here.
No, I would have wished you would have asked me before you moved me into the basement.
Why? Do you have to be on my back, Mom? It's too dark and dingy down there. I get depressed, you know that. Complete your puzzles down there as well as you can up here.
What's for dinner, Grams? I'm starving.
So what did we see there? Yeah, it was certainly abuse. The son moving in seemingly temporarily, and we saw 6 months later, 1 year later, moving mom downstairs without her permission, bank card overdrawn. And so the son says, oh, well, you might not get your prescription filled. So the son has taken the power. You saw the messy living room. Mom is still cooking, feeling isolated, sad, trapped in the situation. Doesn't know how to stop it and where to get help. So we see a financial abuse with a credit card, emotional abuse, moving the mom downstairs without asking her permission, violation of her rights, opening up the mail, controlling, disregard. That it was her house and it was just going to be a temporary move in, and that now it seems to be it's a year later. So strong sense of entitlement, of course, right? What are you doing? Treating her like a child. What are you doing when we're moving the thermometer, changing the temperature? So it's important that we not jump in, try to solve the trouble. We need to be supportive, but don't try to solve it as if we know the answers. So here's a friend, Jocelyn. She's popped over to speak to Maria, and let's see how she does being supportive. This is the first response.
How are things going with your son being home? Oh, I feel badly for him. He's having such a hard time with it. He and his daughter moved upstairs on the weekend. And where does that leave you? In the spare room. In the basement? Oh, I am sorry, but that is going too far. You still cater to his every whim when what he really needs is a swift kick in the pants. If you don't put your foot down, he's never going to leave that couch. Never mind, look for a job.
So did you see how Jocelyn basically sort of got angry at her friend and basically, sort of said, like, what do? He needs a good kick in the pants. But you saw Maria, she just closed right up. She would not want to speak anymore about that. She's embarrassed. And so that's an example of not how to respond to your friend. So let's give Jocelyn another chance. And let's see if we can learn from this and be supportive. So here's response number 2. And this is what I want us to learn to do.
How are things going with your son being home? Oh, I feel badly for him. He's having such a hard time with it. He and his daughter moved upstairs on the weekend. And where does that leave you? In the spare room. In the basement? I'm worried about you.
Notice, I'm worried about you.
Your life has changed so much.
Supportive.
Are you okay?
She's left the door open for further conversations. And that's what we need to do. So what does Jocelyn do? She sees the mess in the front room. She names her concern. She says, I'm worried about you. She listens without judging. And she takes her friend Maria. She pulls the sweater together and just shows comfort. And she asks a question. Are you okay? What can I do? And what does she really do? She helps to interrupt the isolation. That's what we want to do. We want to leave that door open so we can help in the future, maybe invite her out for a walk, go for tea or coffee, but we're going to keep the door open for further discussion to support Maria. So there's the isolation, and it's a cyclical, the abuse just gets worse and builds up. So we've got to stop that isolation. So here's a little bit of a process that we can go through. So we want to see the abuse, we want to name it, and we want to check it. So here's the first one. See it. It just doesn't seem right. It's that spidey sense that you have. You just feel uncomfortable. Something else is happening. So we're recognizing the warning signs. And then we're going to name it. Not to jump to conclusions, but try to be supportive. I'm worried about you. Talk to that person and try to build that trust. Don't jump to conclusions or make judgments. We may not know all of the story. And we also want to make sure that this is confidential so that the son or daughter-in-law or the daughter are not in the room so that we can have that personal discussion. And then we want to check. check your assumptions, ask some questions. If someone is in danger of their life, etc., we obviously want to call 911, but otherwise there's some resources available. So there's the steps. So see it, notice when something just doesn't feel right to you. What are the warning signs? Name your concerns. Are you okay? Do you want to talk about this? See it, name it, check it, so it's safe. Here's some local resources that are available that we can contact. Seniors Abuse and Information Line. There's the number, and it's available 24/7, I think in about 23 or 24 languages. Fraser Help is available, and people like Leanne, who's going to be talking on the panel soon, is one of the resource people there. Victim Link, BC, etc. So those are some local resources. Some final thoughts. You don't have to be a hero and fix the situation. Don't jump to conclusions. We want to show that caring. We want to leave the door open for further discussion. We want to be that supportive person rather than causing Maria or whoever it is to keep isolated. So thank you very much, and I will throw it back to Nicole.
Great, thank you so much, Ken. That's a really great overview of what exactly older adult abuse neglect is, some ways that we can show support, what to look for. And now what we're going to hopefully do is bring back our whole panel here, and we're going to discuss some of the questions that our attendees submitted. Now, in the interest of time, we had a lot of questions, so I did take the ones that were more on topic, were asked multiple times, so we're going with those ones. If you feel at the end of this webinar, though, that your question was not answered, please don't hesitate to email us so that we can make sure that we get you those answers that you need. Now, I did introduce everyone at the very beginning, but I know we've had some people join us maybe just as that probably wrapped up as I did those intros. So I'm just going to do a quick recap of that. With us, we've got Ken Kuhn, who we just heard from, who's with the BCCRN and Tri-City Seniors Action Society. Leanne Lange, who's with Fraser Health. Justin Lee with Seniors First BC, and Constables Justin Lalou and Glenn Chernagel with our community response team with the Coquitlam RCMP. Okay, so I'm going to jump right in with our questions, and if you guys, the first person to share, if anyone has anything to add as we go along, let's just keep this discussion going. So the first question I have here, what are some of the biggest red flags that a senior is experiencing abuse and or neglect? This could be physical, mental, or financial. And Justin Lee, I'm going to ask you this to get us started first.
Sure. So the thing with elder abuse and neglect is that it's often very difficult and complicated and sometimes hard to detect. But there are 4 general indicators that we can try to use if we're trying to figure out if elder abuse is happening. So the 4 types that we can look at are physical indicators, emotional indicators, financial indicators, and some other indicators as well. So with physical indicators, there are some things that, like Ken mentioned, like if bruises or some other physical ailments show up on the older adult. For issues might come up. For example, the older adult might show signs of shamefulness, or there might be unexplained low self-esteem. Some other issues, including the financial and the material abuse indicators, include sudden changes to the financial situation of the older adult. One sign that is present is like sometimes an older adult might have possessions that go missing in their house and it's unexplained, or they might have sudden changes to their powers of attorney agreements. And for other abuse indicators, if there's a history of unexplained visits to emergency departments, or if an older adult is fearful of being left alone with somebody who might be an abuser, or if they're postponing medical attention, then these are certainly some red flags that might appear if you're with somebody who might be being abused.
Great. Did anyone have anything else they wanted to add to that?
Just a lot of times, aside from things you can actually see or been informed of, trust your instincts. If you have regular contact with a person, be it as somebody see every day, as a neighbor, as a friend, as a family member, and something doesn't seem right, that's usually a true indicator. And something like that might be suffice enough to notify you that something is not right.
Great.
And I'll just add in there that it's about 1 in 6 people right now who are reported of suffering from elder abuse. And there are many, many more that are not reported, as we know, because of different ethnic backgrounds and all sorts of other reasons. But by the year 2030, it'll be 1 in 4 that is estimated. So we need to make sure that we're taking care of this. Thank you.
Okay, so along those lines, what are the steps that I should take if I suspect older adult abuse or neglect? As an outsider, what can I do? What should I be doing? I'm going to start this off with you, Ken.
Okay, so I'm going to share a slide here, and this is where I would start. And hopefully Nicole can send this out to all the attendees following. And I've also got something that I'd like to send out also similar to this. So first of all, is the adult in immediate danger? If they are, then we need to call 911. That's the key thing. If they're in danger of physical harm, call 911. If not, then there are, if the adult is able to seek assistance, then there are several agencies like Seniors Abuse and Information Line, or Fraser Help, or Victim Link. And I don't have the information here for the Tri-City CRN, but they are also another resource. And is the abuse, neglect, or self-neglect related to a financial matter? If it is, then there's something called the public guardian and trustee that can be contacted. And if not, is the abuse and neglect primarily related to non-financial matters, then there are designated agencies such as Fraser Help that we can contact. So that's sort of how I would get started on it, but there's all sorts of resources that can help us out in the community.
Okay, great. And I will be sending that out. Now, another part of this too is what kind of evidence or proof would you need if you're making a report like that at whichever level? What should you be showing people other than just your word?
Well, again, if it's financial, it's probably going to involve maybe a bank or a credit union, a power of attorney, all those sorts of things. So, but if there's bruising or some mistreatment, then we probably need to be calling the police if that's the case, or someone is being kept outside of their home or being neglected, etc. Yeah, call one of the agencies, but definitely if someone is in harm, call 911. Those are the experts and people who know what to do. Thank you.
Perfect. Okay, actually on that note of calling 911, I want to sort of touch on this with you, Glenn and Justin, our CRT members. When there is that immediate risk and the police are called in, what should somebody do? What can they report and give to you guys?
Actually, I'm just going to backstep first, just with evidence as well. Text messages, like, and even if there's a history with text messages or witnesses, friends that have overheard conversations and things, those are also evidence that would be good to provide. So, but yeah, as for anything immediate risk, just like Ken was sharing, is the adult in danger of harm? Will money be stolen or spent, property taken, or does the elder appear to have a lack of mental capacity? With the criminal code, there is nothing for elder abuse. Everything falls under all the other criminal offenses of assault, aggravated assault, forcible confinement, failure to provide necessities of life. That would be something more with medication that's not given or something. Criminal neglect, uttering threats is a big one that I've come across too. Just muttering of, I'm going to burn this house down or something, where the elder feels threatened, and it's usually by family member. But yeah, our call takers, they are trained to ask specific questions. So if there is an immediate risk, they will assess that, and a member would be there dispatched right away. Just check well-being. Just in doing.
Sure. And as police officers, a lot of people mistake that our reason for existence is to solve crimes, to arrest people. Those are all things that come with the position, but our first and foremost primary priority is to ensure the safety of the general public. And in something like this, our first priority is confirming their well-being, attending the resident, speaking to the person, doing our initial assessment, what we can see, what we hear, and then we might begin to gather more evidence as far as from the initial call or other witnesses, and so on and so forth. But initially, our first priority is assessing their well-being, and whether we bring in or request additional help, whether we attend and we call EHS based on our observations, or reach out to one of our community partners like Justin Lee or Ken Kuhn or Leanne, like just depending on what we initially assess.
Okay, now we talked about what kind of proof you can provide, but what if somebody just has a hunch? What if you have a hunch that this is going on, the person's personality is changing, maybe they're more withdrawn, or you have this feeling this is happening? Can they still make this report, and who should that go to?
Definitely, and that's something, again, that as police, we have those authorities, and that we can attend to assess well-being, because in this case, it might not be an actual abuse or physical mental anguish, but maybe they're suffering from a mental health issue. And the Mental Health Act gives us certain police powers and authorities where we could apprehend if they're an immediate risk to themselves or can't provide for themselves, or we can liaise with one of our sections at the detachment, like our mental health coordinator position, where they can assist and reach out to partners. So again, that just kind of forms the initial. In the beginning, we want to ensure their well-being.
Perfect. Okay.
But it might be a mental health issue where we have to reach out to partners.
Okay. The next question I have, my children manage my finances. What should I look out for?
This is Leanne. So this is my question. And so I think it's great for family to get this type of help from family. And in the majority of situations, there are no issues. And I think if people do identify, just the way Ken mentioned and the CRP team mentioned, kind of that spidey sense or just your sense that something might be different. I think when you approach your family, should probably just be from, first of all, kind of just a curious asking questions perspective, as opposed to accusing or assuming that there's wrongdoing. As we know, when it comes to family and money, sometimes people can become very defensive. I've worked in this field for 24 years, and so my experience has been in a lot of cases, sometimes families have made an honest mistake, or perhaps they're over their head. They don't have kind of the skills and ability to manage other people's finances, especially if there's complex tax or legal issues or investments. So I just always kind of start from that point. Some practical suggestions on what you can look for. If all of a sudden you're receiving some late bill notices, your power or electricity gets turned off, obviously that's usually that the bill's not getting paid. If all of a sudden you're getting strange credit card statements or credit cards you haven't actually applied for yourself, that could be a red flag. Sometimes your financial institution will call you and ask you a question that you're not sure about, something that's out of the ordinary. You're getting calls from collection agencies looking for, for bills. Obviously, if you have your bank statements, if you're seeing unusual purchases, something from, I don't know, companies or services that you don't use, or if you're homebound and money's being spent at restaurants and nail salons that is not for you, that is would raise a red flag. I think if you ask questions from the person helping you and they're denying your request or not helping you or reassuring you, that is a red flag. If you have family telling you that you actually can't afford to purchase an item of a service and you think that you should be able to, that would warrant a closer look. I think I would just be cautious in general if your family is asking in general for loans or gifts without kind of a plan to repay. I think that I'd also be cautious with family wanting to get themselves added to your property title if you own a property. And sometimes people will say this is in order, so you don't have to pay tax to the government when you die. And I think for people that you just want to get professional advice on something like that before you, because sometimes it's more complicated than you see. So either a lawyer, a notary, or maybe you have an accountant that you can reach out to. Be really cautious and something about, we've had situations where people will kind of family or even new friends who offer to kind of move in and take care of you for the rest of your life if you give them access to your house or ownership of your house. Again, you want to make sure that you're making a decision and getting expert advice on that, because sometimes your assets can leave you very quickly and you're not left in a good position. I just think to kind of thinking ahead, because this the theme of Ken's information as well, is trying to prevent problems before they're happening. So just a couple practical tips. If you want family, try and choose more than one family member to help you if that's an option for you. So then they kind of can work together and keep an eye on each other. I would say to use extra caution when choosing family members to help who may not be great financial managers of their own finances, or may be struggling with some substance use issues or have a history of addiction to gambling. Again, we've seen a lot of cases where unfortunately that put people at greater risk. If you're not comfortable with family to start off with, look to see other options like a trust company or your bank or the Bloom Group who can help you set things up. Even if you have family helping you, please try as much as possible to stay involved, get your bank statements, review them, ask them people, every month to sit down and show you what they're doing. That's fair, that's transparent, that's what should be working with. And there's just finally, I think you should just consider getting like a formal legal authority, either a power of attorney for financial legal decisions or representation, to just put more structure and responsibility around the person's decision making. Those are my basic suggestions.
Fantastic. That's great information. Thank you. For the next question, I'm going to go back to you, Justin. So what can you do as an observer if you're sure a senior is a victim of abuse and or neglect, and yet the senior declines help? It could be because of Alzheimer's, so maybe they don't recall the abusive incidents because they feel embarrassed, or they maybe just don't see a problem themselves.
Yes. So if you're just an observer, it's often sometimes confusing for you as an observer as well. It's often the case that you'll feel some kind of confusion because sometimes the abuser might also be a family member or a loved one. And also there are other factors that might prevent the older adult from reporting a situation like this. especially if, again, if it's a loved one that is causing them difficulties, or again, if they have other issues such as physical limitations, or if they have cognitive limitations. So one of the things that we can do is, like, as Ken mentioned, is the steps that you can take to see it, name it, check it, and provide your support. But there are also community resources out there. If it's a financial difficulty, you can try contact the community programs that can offer support, like for financial issues, the Public Guardian Trustee can help. Seniors Abuse and Information Line is also a good resource if you're looking for general information on how you can support an older adult, and they can also provide you with referrals. But if it's a case where an older adult is unable to report the situation, such as, like, as in the question, if they have Alzheimer's, then something that you can do is to contact the designated agencies. In BC, we have the 5 health authorities. Leanne is one of them, the Fraser Health. Vancouver Coastal Health is another one. And so what they'll do is they'll work with the older adult, and they can work with you to try to solve these issues and see if there's some kind of solution.
Perfect. Great. Does anyone have anything to add to that one? Okay, I'm going to move ahead. I'm going to go back to you, Leanne. What options are there when a family member is dealing with self-neglect? They need regular care beyond what the family can offer, but they insist on staying in their own home.
So this is a really great question and a very common scenario. And just from the perspective of our adult protection program at Fraser Health, the #1 type of report that we do look into relates to self-neglect for people. So I think the guiding principle here for me is that, just a reminder that mentally capable people, family members, have the right to make their own decisions regarding what no matter what their age is. And so most often people do prefer to remain in their homes and live their lives there. So I think that's one of the key important things to think about. And I just to acknowledge and remember that none of us participating today live a life that is 100% risk-free. So if you've driven here, or, you know, at every part of our lives have risk. And I think that we need to just be open-minded to understand that risk does go with living in the community with people. So when it does come to self-neglect, I really just want to get people to make sure they check in with themselves first, to think about their values versus what's most important to the adult, because I think sometimes we're projecting our need to protect our mom versus what mom wants and how mom's lived her life up to that point. I think that practically we need to actually look at the level of risk that's involved. So what are the actual risks? What is the likelihood of something happening? And if it does happen, what is the actual harm? Because there's a whole range of things. So, someone not showering regularly versus someone who's not taking their insulin as prescribed, or heart medications, or someone who is leaving pots burning on the stove because they're forgetting to turn things off. So there's a whole range of, those are just some brief examples. But I think first option for me to recommend is just to try to do everything possible to mitigate the risks. And we are very lucky. There are so many services that are available. Just some examples, medication management. So getting medications into blister packs from the pharmacy. A lot of pharmacies will come to your house 2 times a day and actually provide medications and watch people take them and help them take them. There are even medication dispensing machines that exist that can cue and prompt people when to take their medications. It beeps, ensuring people have the medical equipment they need to increase their safety and decrease risk. Ensuring people's nutritional needs are met through grocery delivery, meal services. Everyone knows of Meals on Wheels, but there's also a lot of other options as well. Just practical safety modifications, because sometimes the bedrooms are upstairs in the house and people, the risk is them going up and down or falling. Might need to move the living area into, move the bed into the living room, that type of thing. Emergency response systems like Lifeline. I think there's a lot of new systems as well that family can actually monitor people's safety at home while they're at work. There's always services, private pay to purchase home support. Lots of options, lots of companies offer those services. Private pay, you can have someone, a lot of people are having caregivers come and live in their home to take care of them. Fraser Health has a lot of services that are accessible through the home health service line. And then, as I mentioned already, just kind of managing finances, because sometimes self-neglect of finances is one of the key issues. Those are my suggestions.
Those are great suggestions. So many resources. That's fantastic. Okay, I'm going to move to the next question. And it's actually going back more to the policing perspective. So I'll go to our community response team. The first part of this question is asking if I need to report my neighbor for abuse or neglect, can I do so anonymously?
So you can, like, there's no requirement, but that's, if you do so not anonymously, it gives the police responding to the call the ability to contact you for more clarification, for if we can't locate the address per se, we can get additional details. Your privacy is protected under the Privacy Act. Your confidentiality is maintained, and the investigators take that into consideration. If you are an actual witness to an event, the investigator will inquire if you're willing to attend court, and that is that's at your own discretion. If you're willing to attend court, then should a criminal investigation occur, you will be summoned or subpoenaed. But if you decline, you're not going to be forced. Your privacy is respected. And in a lot of cases too, it's taken upon with the attendance. If a police officer attends a home to investigate or to confirm a well-being, they're not going to release who made the call or do anything that might identify them. So there's really nothing to be concerned about in that respect. So, and a lot of the times, the police, we like to follow up with the original complainant to let them know what the results of our attendance was, whether we ensured the person's safety, things like that, but they can get that immediate feedback as far as what the police did and what we did see and do.
Okay, and the second part of this question is, if I want to report abuse from a family member, do they have to go to jail?
So often I come across where elder who is in abusive situation is very reluctant in reporting to police, because that's the exact fear that their adult child, they do not want to see them going to jail. Now with it's depending on the offense, whether the offense is an assault, pushing someone is an assault under the criminal code. And in those cases, pushing or uttering threats, we would arrest to separate. Again, this is for safety of all people. And they most likely take them for 2 cells where we would also feel that it's our duty to write a report to Crown Counsel and forwarding charges for assault or for uttering threats. And usually what I've seen come out of it, so we're speaking to the elements of the offense of what occurred, and so that's how we're getting some court action. And the end result is no criminal conviction, but the end result usually is a no contact order, which so the results have created a safe place for everyone where the adult child is no longer living in the home and has no contact and cannot attend that house. And so it really comes down to a safe environment. And so
Perfect. Okay, so we've got a couple of great questions left that I want to get to. And only 10 minutes left, so I am keeping an eye on that. Hopefully we'll stay close to it. If anyone does have to leave in the end and we go a few minutes over, we understand. We'll be sending out a survey soon and some more resources as well later. So the next question I have, is there support in place for adult children who provide support for aging parents? And I'm going to direct this back to you, Leanne.
Thank you. Yes, there is, and this is, a growing need as our population's aging, and a lot of family members are assuming family caregiving roles. So there are more services coming online. I mean, just first, I know a lot of people, including myself, have been family caregivers, and it is a very challenging job, especially if you're working yourself and raising your own family. It can be a very, very tricky time. And there are a number of agencies, Family Caregivers of BC has a support line and virtual support groups. The Alzheimer's Society of BC has a lot of services that are available to support caregivers to keep caregiving. In Fraser Health, we have kind of a relatively new service of caregiver support practitioners that are social workers who are providing counseling and support to caregivers to support them. So those are just a few that I was able to come up with. I think just going back to my previous response to the question, I think part of a strategy is supporting caregivers by bringing in more services to kind of take the load off them. And again, like the private pay services, sometimes, even paying someone to help transport someone to an appointment so you don't have to leave work. These are practical things. Housekeeping, paying for housekeeping services to support people. And then there's a whole bunch of services through Fraser Health, including some really specific services called respite. So home support coming in and giving caregivers a break, like a lot of time, like 4 hours to go out and do their errands, do their activities, get a break away. Also, there is overnight respite in some of our care facilities that people can go for a block of, up to a month to stay, and family members can take their vacations and stuff to try and support them. Just a few ideas.
Perfect. Great. Okay. And then Ken, we had a question asking how prevalent is elder abuse, and has there been an increase in reported cases of elder abuse since COVID-19?
Well, we're all aware about the long-term care situation. 80% of the deaths in Canada happen because of in long-term care. And it's sort of interesting, the people who built Medicare in 1961 are the ones who are the most suffering from it and not benefiting from it. So yes, COVID has been very hard on the seniors. And it goes back to something that Leanne said earlier. We need to be taking into consideration the rights of older people and the rights of those people in long-term care to make their own decisions. So there's a big push for that. And I was on a webinar earlier when Federal Minister of Seniors, Minister Schulte, announced a consultation program for seniors wanting input on elder abuse. Announced today, and it'll be open till July 22nd. She's going to be doing national and regional consultations, but I will share that with you, Nicole, to send it out to our participants, and they can have their own input. So
okay. Sounds good. Okay, now final quick takeaway from each of you on what the main message is that you'd want the audience to take away. So we're going to keep this brief and wrap up maybe even on time. I'm going to get you to start us off though, Justin, if you don't mind. You're muted though.
Okay. I think the main message for me is to remember that there's a support network in there for older adults and even those who care for them, care about them. It's not just resources and like the resource providing, there's also information providing resources. There's the community response networks out there. There's and the designated agency that can all help. There's also Seniors First BC, and we have a number of resources that can help. So I think it's just remember that there are a number of resources that can help you.
Perfect. Okay. Leanne, how about you?
So mine is, I think we should just forget about age. And as my mother-in-law says, she's 83. It's just a number. And you need to ask yourself, would I be concerned about this person if they were making the same decision and they were 50 years old? And I think this speaks to the component of ageism. And I think just sometimes we're quite quick to assume someone's incapable of making decisions. And I think we need to kind of look more closely at not actually about the decision, but what are the person's reasons for making it?
Good point. Good point. Okay, I'm going to go to our community response team. Do you have a final takeaway?
So yeah, you know what, we're here for public safety. If an elder feels that they are being abused, then speak to someone. Speak to someone, a friend, close someone who they know. And then if you feel that you are observing someone who's being abused, then speak. Inquire. Ken had some really good points. See it, name it, check it. Those are the things. See it, you name it, you check it, and then just find out what's going on and just investigate. And then the police are here to assist in public safety. So that's.
Yeah. And all I did just trust your instincts. Don't overthink it. If something appears to be not right, kind of go with that. You're not going to be faulted for being over vigilant. And we can always, if everything is all right, then they've been confirmed, right? So
great. Okay, and Ken, what's your final takeaway?
So let's remember, it's not right. Neighbors, friends, and family. We're all in this together. All the people on this panel, we're a team. When I do INR presentations, I quite often have people from this team with me because it's important to show that we're a team. So let's be that supportive person if you're a family, neighbor, or friend. Remember, as we just learned about that, sync it. Let's use that skill. And I would love to have all the people in the Tri-Cities area join us after this panel in Lafarge Lake Park. We've got swag bags, BCCRN goodies, masks, hand sanitizers, gift basket draw. It's all free. We're there to support seniors and help with information if you need it. So remember, we're a team. Reach out for some support if you need it. Thank you. Thanks, Nicole.
Perfect. Okay, so that's going to be it for us for today. As always, we ran out of time really quickly. I want to thank our panel for joining us for this great discussion. Thank you guys all for being here. Thank you to all of our attendees for signing in with us today. I will be sending out a survey link as well as some of the resources that we've shared with you today in an email that should be going out within a couple minutes, probably, if Eventbrite works with me. You'll be getting that. So please stay tuned. We're doing these presentations all throughout the year. Our next one that's coming up is going to be on personal property protection, and that's going to be held at noon on July the 6th. So you can already check with our you can start signing in, and we'll be sending out more information through Coquitlam RCMP's social media. So keep an eye on that. And then in August, we have something a little bit different, a little bit fun that's planned. So keep an eye out for that one too. I want to thank everybody once more. Thank you. And I hope to see you all next time. Thanks.